It was such a beautiful day. Being bored and wanting to get out of the house, you decide to visit your local mine and start digging around. Why? Because you live in Utah, for God's sakes. While mining, you stumble upon a weird-looking ore, and upon a quick Google search, discover you've found uranium. What do you do now? You quickly escape from your homemade mine and take a seat on a rock. You have a decision to make. Either you can A, cover the mine and never speak of it to anyone. B, notify the proper authorities about what you have discovered. C, call your friends to come take a look. Or D, mine this bitch for all it's worth. Let's be honest, we already know which answer it's going to be. If you selected D, mine this bitch for all it's worth, you'd be correct. What could go wrong? Actually, what could go wrong? Believe it or not, this was an actual American phenomenon through the 1950s. Still hyped up after leveling 2 Japanese cities, there was a period where amateur miners were having dreams of a second, almost gold rush type event. Unfortunately for them, uranium mining is a bit more risky. Uranium in its ore form isn't particularly radioactive, but the dangers of contaminating the water, the environment, and the miner are all serious concerns. Interest in the atomic world peaked in the 1950s and fell soon after, and with that, so did the days of amateur uranium mining. People moved on. They got interested in rock and roll, skinny jeans, and, crack. The year is 1994. A 17-year-old David Hahn had a dream. Like many great figures before him, he wanted to make a difference. He wanted to progress society. He wanted to build a nuclear reactor in his backyard. Actually, no, scratch that first part. This motherfucker was just a maniac. This is the story of the nuclear Boy Scout. Born and raised in Michigan to an engineer father and an alcoholic and schizophrenic mother, both honorable careers, David loved experiments. He once created his own chloroform, which he once very cleverly took a large whiff of and passed out for over an hour. Nice. He was also an avid pyromaniac, who dabbled in making his own rockets, fireworks, and on occasion nitroglycerin.
Oh, Lord! Lord, Jesus! Oh, Lord!
Joining Boy Scouts at a young age, his father thought it would be a good outlet for the young lad. This was all well and good, until David started to get some radioactive ideas. Inspired by a chemistry book, he started learning about atomic energy, even earning a merit badge for it. This is real, I'm not kidding. While on the outside, he looked like a harmless, science-savvy kid. In reality, David had decided he was going to try to make his own breeder reactor, which, from my understanding, is basically like a less picky nuclear reactor, which will use more types of uranium isotopes. David extracted different radioactive materials from old clocks, camping lantern mantles, smoke detectors, and some others. How could this work? I mean, it's just a kid in a shed. But surprisingly, David was able to produce 1,000 times the normal radiation we all face every day. If you're like me, you may think, well, 1,000 times seems like a lot. But is it really? To figure this out, we need to do some, drumroll please, math! The normal amount of background radiation worldwide is about 2.4 millisieverts per year, which is basically nothing. If we multiply 2.4 by 1,000, however, we now have roughly 2,400 millisieverts per year. The US Nuclear Regulatory Commission limits the yearly dose of radiation for workers to 50 millisieverts per year, which tells us this reactor was just a little bit dangerous. And by a little bit dangerous, I mean strutting around O-Block wearing a tutu level of dangerous. Unsurprisingly, the 17-year-old David got worried and tried to take his experiments apart. Before he could get everything stowed away, however, David was busted by the FBI, which resulted in the removal of all radioactive material from the property. After this series of events, David Hahn's life would take a downward spiral. Hahn's girlfriend broke up with him, and in the same year, after a lifelong battle with mental illness and addiction, David's mother committed suicide in early 1996. After high school, David decided to join the Navy, and later, the Marines. After about 7 years of service, he was honorably discharged due to medical reasons. With a long stint in the military, some may hope that he would have learned his lesson, and just accept the fact that having a few years taken off his life was enough radioactive antics. Unfortunately, those people didn't realize that this boy had a dream. April 23rd, 2007, an anonymous figure reported David's suspicious activities to the authorities. They claimed he was creating a nuclear reactor in his freezer, which doesn't sound like him at all. The FBI investigated David about this and interviewed him about his paranoid schizophrenia and his apparent love of cocaine. Later that year, David was charged with larceny for stealing smoke detectors from his apartment complex, allegedly. And on this visit to jail is where his infamous mugshot originates from, showing him covered in sores, some say from drug use, others say from radiation. Who knows? For the attempted larceny, he received 90 days in jail, where he received medical treatment. Unfortunately, the life of David Hahn was cut short when in September of 2016, He passed away from accidental intoxication from a mix of alcohol, fentanyl, Benadryl, and other things. Although his tragic end, his legacy will continue to live on in pop culture, and will be subject to shitty animation videos on YouTube. Sorry. It should also be noted that his story from the book The Nuclear Boy Scout motivated a young Taylor Wilson, who went on to have a so far successful career in nuclear physics. Anyways, folks, I hope you learned something today, and if not, hopefully you were entertained by the antics of a boy with a dream. Real quick, I want to say thanks for the support in the last video. I won't keep you any longer. I hope you all had a great holiday season, and I'll see you all in 2026. Bye!